Greetings ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage in this lovely evening. And as you may have already seen, I've got the Triumph Daytona on the bench. Some of you who follow my channel have seen the introduction video. So although I had other stuff to do and other videos to film, I decided to take a look at this bike because I'm very excited about this bike and I want to see how much work it actually needs doing. So, a few things about this bike. It was probably a commuter, used and abused and not very loved by the looks of it. It's got about 55,000 miles and it's a bit, it was a bit messy, but after a good wash it's looking pretty good actually. There's something to work with here. It was sold to a gentleman who decided to turn it into some sort of cafe racer project, took it all apart and gave up, and then decided to sell it to a friend of mine who brought it here. So we're going to have a quick look at this bike. I would really like to hear this engine running tonight. That would be really nice. So before I attempt to start the engine, I'm going to do some checks. I've already checked and there's oil in the engine, a bit too much of it, and it's quite dark and dirty. It probably didn't have an oil change in quite a while. Next thing I want to check is the air filter. I'm going to take the air filter out and see what it looks like. Take the airbox off and take a look at the throttle bodies. Take the plugs out, see what they look like and what the engine looks like inside. Jack the back of the bike up and just put it in gear and turn the back wheel so I can see if the engine turns freely and nothing seems to be wrong. And if everything checks out, I'm going to put the battery back on it, maybe put the dashboard on, put the fuel tank on, and hopefully hear it run. So let's see how that goes. Right, so as I said, first thing on the list is the air filter. Let's take it out and see what it looks like. So it looks a bit messy and probably moldy by the looks of it. It's a K&N filter, so it's washable. I'm not particularly a fan of those, but it'll have to do. Just needs a good clean, but it's looking pretty good. Good. Let's try to take off the thermostat housing and pull the airbox out. Right, so here we go. We've got the airbox off and it's looking pretty good so far. The throttle bodies are a bit dirty, but not terrible. It's actually pretty clean in there. So yeah, let's take the coils off, remove the plugs and see what they look like. So the spark plugs look very good. Number 3 is a bit oily, but they're very clean, and the previous owner did say he replaced them, so it's very likely this bike never ran with these plugs. They've just been put in. So yeah, I'm just gonna check the gap before I put them back in, and we're gonna move on, see what it looks like inside the cylinder. Jack the back of the bike up and try to spin the back wheel. And while I was here, I also noticed a big hole in one of the vacuum lines. So these all need to be replaced now, otherwise it's gonna have some running issues. So let's try to put it in 6th gear and turn the engine over. So yeah, the engine turns over. So now I'm just going to put the plugs back in, coils in, fuel tank on, try to deal the connectors and see if we can start it. So I'm not going to plug everything back into the airbox. It already has a vacuum leak. It's going to have another one from this hose. And on the other side, all I'm going to plug in is the connector on the side. Okay, so at this point I would expect to hear the fuel pump, but nothing happens. So I'll have to look into that. It may be that some of the things that are still disconnected are preventing the bike from starting. But yeah, we'll find out in a bit. Right, so the fuses are good. Right, let's give it another try. It was just a loose connector I found. So let's see what happens. Wow, I'm actually surprised, but it turned on. The trouble is, my little girl is sleeping now, so if I do attempt to start it, I might have to sleep in the garage. Wow, it's showing signs of starting. The starter sounds really bad, so I think something's not quite right there. So I'm gonna give that another go, and then go inside and try to explain to my lovely wife that it wasn't me. Alright, so that's fantastic news. The bike does start. Might have to look at that starter and see what's going on. But yeah, it's fantastic. We've achieved the goal for tonight. So I'm just gonna pack everything up. And at some point I'm gonna take everything back off, do the spark plugs properly, change all the vacuum hoses and make sure everything's right there. Clean the air filter and do a proper service on the engine. And probably take the starter off and see what's going on. And yeah, that should be it for the engine. We've got plenty of other stuff to do, so keep your eyes open for future videos. Thanks for watching.